Of course, I committed to watching all of Yuri Buchanan's testimony today. And I got like 10 minutes in to the first day and had to stop because I had a million questions and I wrote a bunch of notes. And I'm like, this is going to be a lot of videos, but let's get started. All the way back at the beginning, Brennan says to Yuri, please tell us about that day. Walk us through the timeline. Walk us through what happened on January 29th. And Yuri starts to tell the story about how he and Proctor rolled into town and they first went into the Canton PD. Now, he doesn't mention it in his original testimony, but on cross, he mentions that it was good that he had talked to at the station. He says that they were given possession of John O'Keefe's cell phone. They were shown the cocktail glass and they were shown the solo cups with the blood in it and the paper bag. My guesstimation is they probably arrived around 9-ish, right? And they're at the Canton PD. Now, one thing he says, and this is what Hank keeps doing. Hank keeps saying, well, then where did the evidence take you? And where did the investigation lead you? Because he wants the jury to actually think that this fucking investigation was on the up and up and it was anything but that. But anyway, Yuri plays right into it and says, well, and I'm reading from notes. He says that they decided to go do interviews based on what the police had told him and the evidence found at the scene. They decided to go do some interviews with any witnesses or people that had been there the night before. He also says, we also had statements made by the defendant that, quote, she may have hit him. And I'm thinking, wait a minute. It's like 9:30 in the morning. How does he have that statement? I'm curious. Now, it must have come directly from Sergeant Lank of the Canton PD. And if you remember, Mulaney, Seraph, and Good all arrived at the scene. They were there for kind of that most chaotic part. It's in none of their statements that Karen said anything about kind of the ownness of this, right? She never made any statements about maybe I hit him, did I hit him, did I hit him? On the stand, this jury has heard Jen McCabe say, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him 3 times. They've heard Carrie Roberts say that Karen said, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him 3 times. They heard Kate McLaughlin say, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him 4 times. They heard Nuttles, the paramedic, say, he heard Karen say, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him. But if you go back to that morning, none of the statements made by any of those women to police or the EMTs to police or the police heard themselves, nobody heard a thing about this possibly being a vehicular incident. In fact, by the time Lank arrives at 6:24. And by the time he arrives, John has already been loaded into the ambulance. So Lank does not see the body on the ground. All he has is the statements and opinions of others. Lank calls the Massachusetts State Police at 6:38 that morning. Proctor calls him back, the 2 talk, and Lank gives him a download. But at that point, that's all Lank knows. There's no mention of anybody hitting anything with a vehicle. All Lank knows at that point is an officer is down and found on the lawn of another officer. And it looks like he's been beaten up is basically all he's got. But then Lank goes in the house and he gets a statement from Jen McCabe, Matt McCabe, Brian Albert, and Nicole Albert. This is probably between 7:30 and 8 o'clock in the morning. Again, nobody makes any mention of a vehicular incident. No one mentions Karen saying anything about hitting John. That's not even a topic of conversation. Lank goes back to the police station. At 9 a.m., he's called by Jennifer McCabe. He goes back to the house. Now, sometime between that hour, Julie Albert has arrived, and so has Brian Higgins. So there's more people there now. Lank and Gallagher come back to the home. Jennifer McCabe amends her statement. Now that I think about it, I think Karen was saying that she was worried she may have hit him. So she puts that into a police record. Karen is worried she may have hit him and said, I hope I didn't hit him. So that ends up in Lank's second report. Lank very possibly hightailed it back to the Canton PD and finds Yuri and Proctor there and tells them, hey, guess what? I just came from 34 Fairview and that the girlfriend is saying she may have hit him. That is the only time it is recorded. The entire morning, that's the only time it's recorded in the incidents that happened that morning at 34 Fairview. So even though steadily over time, from the grand jury to the first trial to the second trial, everyone has ramped up this, oh my God, she was yelling it on the lawn, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him. None of that is mentioned in any of the stories, the documents, the recounting of that morning, that day. Okay. Now, Proctor calls Jen McCabe and says, we got to talk, baby. And she's like, come to my house because I got to go home. So they go to her house. Proctor and Buchanan, they're together all day long as Buchanan testified. They go to the McCabes and I believe they talk to Jen McCabe. I think Matt's there. This might be where Carrie Roberts is there. and Brian Albert is there. So, and here's the deal. Jen retells the story and she salt and peppers that piece in where she's like, well, and then there was this part where Karen was kind of saying, I hope I didn't hit him. It's still very much a query. Karen's just a little nervous. Not I hit him. It's maybe. And that's exactly what Proctor puts in his report, that there was some thought that maybe the girlfriend was speculating as to maybe she might have done this. He and Yuri decide they got to get a look at the body. So they go over to Good Samaritan. Now, Yuri mentions that it took a while to get there because of the bad weather. They get there, he says, between 12:30 and 1. He tells us a little bit about the scene, the photos they took, all of that. Then he says, again, Brennan says, and then where did the evidence take you? So Yuri, again, trying to convince the jury that they've got a reason to go after Karen, he says, well, now, based on the condition of the body, black eyes and the scratched knee and the scratched arm, and a missing tennis shoe, we absolutely felt that this was a vehicular incident. And we needed to go and speak with Miss Reed. So they haul their cookies out to Dighton. It takes an hour to an hour and 15 minutes because the snow is so bad. So they're driving to Dighton. They say they get to Dighton at 3 p.m., which means sometime between 2 and 3 when they're in the car, Proctor gets a phone call from Jen McCabe. Guess who wants to add to their report? So now that Jen McCabe's had some time to think about it and talk to people, she now calls Proctor and says, now that I think about it, Karen had a cracked taillight. She had a cracked taillight. So yeah, you might want to look into that. Now I'm guessing this is like Yahtzee for Buchanan and Proctor because they're already like, in their minds, they're thinking it's vehicular and there they get this great lead about the taillight. At some point, I think Proctor calls Tully and Tully kind of calls the CERT team and O'Hara says he gets that call before 3. Like he gets it at like 2:30, 2:45. So he knew his team was going to be called into action. But they haven't arrived in Dighton yet and they haven't seen the condition of the car. They put the CERT team on alert, told them to get ready, and they hadn't even seen the taillight yet. Even though Buchanan swears on the stand that they were following the evidence was Jen McCabe's word. It was Jen McCabe that said, maybe Karen hit him. It was Jen McCabe that said, what about the taillight? Every single step they took was based on what Jen McCabe was feeding them. And he's going to stand in front of a jury and say this was a legit investigation.